A lot of times now athletes are introduced to the money side of things, with NIL being a big thing now. And what that does sometimes is it's a huge blessing for student athletes, but what it does is it can cause some friction and troubles when they transition out of sport. So a lot of those athletes that don't go on to professional athletics, and they transition into the real world, and they're used to making a certain amount of money from their NIL deals. Well, now they have to find a way to supplement that income in different ways. And that might mean that they're starting in an entry level position. And so they have a harder time trying to build up again to receiving an income. And so they need help with that. They need help and advice and people that can help prepare them for those next steps and make that transition a little bit easier. Well, today we're talking to a former NFL lineman. He was an offensive lineman for Tulsa, and then he played in the NFL for multiple teams throughout multiple years. And now he is helping with student athlete development. His name is Willie Wright, and he's an incredible man who is helping these student athletes with their transition and the stuff outside of the field, whether that be through resources that he's providing and whether that be through just advice and insights and wisdom that he's providing to these student athletes. He's working at Boise State University currently, and he's helping these athletes and providing them with all of this knowledge that he has so that they can make that transition into the next phase of their life. It's a really awesome opportunity to learn from him. We get to talk about his playing days, and we also get to talk about what he's doing now and some of the lessons that he's learned that he's now giving back to these athletes. Super awesome interview. Excited to share it with you guys today on the Gametime Guru. So,
what time is it? Game time!
This is the Gametime Guru podcast, where I interview sports figures from all over the world to help deliver a panoramic view on sports. So whether you're a former athlete, one of the crazies, or simply a casual sports fan, this is the perfect show for you as we peel back the curtains and learn from our guests every single week. I'm your host, Shane Larson, and I'm helping you see sports through a different lens. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Gametime Guru podcast. Shane Larson here, host of the show. Excited to be here with you guys for another episode, another interview where we get to learn from one of our guests. You know, we've been doing this for 9 years. Show's been downloaded in 183 countries, all 50 states. We really appreciate the true growth and just everyone sharing it, the community behind this podcast. If it weren't for all those who are listening, and even if you're brand new to it, this might be your first time ever tuning in and kind of getting a vibe because maybe you want to listen to our guest. Welcome aboard. It takes a whole village to kind of push this out organically, and really grateful for everybody's support. So with that being said, I want to make sure that if you want to follow this moving forward, you want to go back and listen to other interviews, you want to listen to this one again or listen to the ones in the future, every Friday we pop new interviews out there for everybody to hear. And you can follow us on any podcast platform. I'm still trying to build the YouTube side out. I never really did that until about 3 or 4 years ago. So if you guys want to follow me on YouTube, that's my slowest growing platform, but I'm trying to get these up there more and more. The audio side, Apple, Spotify, that's where it's worldwide. So just make sure to tap into the audio side as well. And then if you want to follow us on Instagram, all my social media feeds, the Gametime Guru, go check it out there as well. So joining us today, man, this is going to be a really cool opportunity for us to learn from someone who's been in the playing side of things, you know, competed at a very, very high level, and now is helping with the student athlete development sort of thing. And so we're going to get to learn from him. His name's Willie Wright. Willie, thanks for joining the show, brother.
Absolutely. Appreciate you for having me, man.
Heck yeah, man. I came across your profile actually on LinkedIn, and then I started doing the typical, like, oh man, this would be pretty sick, actually kind of chatting with someone like yourself and just seeing all the experience you had. So Willie, like, can you give the audience a little bit of an intro as to what you're currently doing at this particular time?
Yeah, absolutely. So I currently serve as Assistant Director of Student Athlete Development for Bronco Life at Boise State. What exactly does that look like? We kind of attack everything from a holistic approach under 3 pillars. That's personal development, professional development, and community engagement. Basically, to keep it simple, you can look at us as off the field coaches for our athletes. So I can care less about the X's and O's. I care about it. I want you to, of course, succeed, but more so what's after. The ball goes flat for everybody. The ball will stop bouncing for you. The track spikes, they won't work anymore at a certain point. So when you get to that point, how can you smoothly transition or pivot into your football and basketball and track? And
you know what's interesting about this, Willie, is like just 2 weeks ago, like last week, the episode dropped, but I interviewed him 2 weeks ago. His name was Nick Schleckaway. Nick played at Boise State football defensive line. He talked about there was a big part of that interview for a good 10-20 minutes that we chatted about his life after football and like the transition, the dark period, because there was some like transition problems there, and when I've talked to other athletes and former coaches and so forth, and even like Lee Steinberg, who's a sports agent, when I had him on the show, talking about the athletes and that's such a helpful piece, because like you said, like I think a lot of athletes don't realize that it will end. Sometimes they have that, moment of reality at different points in their career, but when it ends, there is a transition period. And if you're setting yourself up for success before that happens, it'll be a much easier transition, because like even Nick said, it was very difficult for him to the point where it actually sent him for a spiral of depression for a good part of a decade. So I really love to see like kind of what you're doing, and you have that experience. So you have the experience, like what it takes, to play at a high level, and then like the transition out of sports. So to give the audience a little bit of an insight as to what you've done, born and bred in Texas, Houston, you were
Yes,
in Houston. So let's talk about like your athletic career, Willie, just like from a player's perspective, growing up in Texas. Did you always play football? What time did you start playing football? Because I've heard Texas football, even at the youth level, is kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's a little different, man. It's a little different. So born and raised, of course, in Houston, Texas, to be exact. I always got to say that in case my Dallas folks listen and then want to hate it a little bit. But yeah, born and raised in Houston. I started playing ball probably around 5th, 6th grade, so pretty young. A little later than a lot of people. I've seen people hop in at 4 years old. My mama wouldn't let me do that. But yeah, started off playing little league, went into the select ranks, and then of course high school ball. Played. Ended up getting recruited my junior year. Finally got a scholarship, or I got a few scholarships, but ultimately decided to go to the University of Tulsa, where I was a redshirt in my first year, then became a 4-year starter. Coming out of there, I ended up coming out undrafted to the Cleveland Browns. Spent about 1.5 years there, and then from there I just kind of bounced around. But I always kind of had it in my mind when I got to college, hey, I understand that even if I do get an opportunity to pursue or to go to the next level, I know it's not going to be for long. It's been many examples where people will go for a year and then you'll never hear from them again as far as the league. But you also had examples where people will go for 10 years. I wanted to have a plan. So what I did, I took advantage of a lot of the resources that we had at the University of Tulsa, whether that was the student athlete development programs, the job shadowships, the NCAA conferences, things of that nature, because I wanted to be as prepared as possible for when I did have to transition. I know you didn't ask all of that, but that's kind of how it flowed.
Oh, that's perfect though, because it will get me into some other questions that I actually had lined up. So that's actually amazing. Speaking of Tulsa, I've only been there once. I had to fly out there in August for something, and
Yeah.
that city, yeah, I must be on the wrong side of the city or something, because I was I was like, I'm not leaving this hotel to get food. I'm just gonna eat this sucker. That's I don't know. I'm from Idaho, man. So I was like,
Yeah.
Maybe there's a different side of Tulsa that's pretty solid, but I was on a different side of town. But good little town.
Yeah.
I want to know though, like, you mentioned before, like getting your offer over to Tulsa junior year, you started getting offers. Talk to me about what it took though, from an athletic and a student athlete perspective. So from academics and athletics, to really prepare yourself for that next level. I mean, you played high school football in Texas, and that we always hear about it. It's like the pinnacle. It's one of the top states in the country when it comes to that, the competition. But like, how did you prepare yourself, and what was that transition like going to the Division I level of football, even as a redshirt? Like, you still have to go to school. You still got to go and do all your thing, and still got to train. You're still part of the team. So talk to us about that transition and what you did to prepare yourself while you were in high school.
Right. So first I got to thank God for the people that he placed around me, like the coaches that I had, some of the teammates that I had. But I always had a mindset and mentality just by the environment or the people that I come from, how I was kind of molded and shaped. So my end goal was get to college however you can, whether that's on an academic scholarship, which I wasn't the 4.0 student, but I had decent grades. But my mentality was always make sure your grades are good enough to, get you into college, but also on the field, do everything that you can do. Make sure the output that you produce on the field gives you the best shot to get recognized and get an opportunity. So I do things like, and this is of course like bare minimum in my personal opinion, but staying after hitting the weight room, doing extra work on the field. If I didn't have a ride, okay, cool, I'm gonna walk home, or I might walk to the school, whatever the case may be. I really wanted it that bad. Just coming from, the situations and the upbringing that I came from. I knew I couldn't pay for college any other way. So I was like, hey, you put it in right now, you'll get to where God, has prepared for you to go. So that's kind of how I prepared myself from that standpoint. When it came to the classroom, I didn't play. My mama didn't play. She was very serious about education, so I took it serious. Like I said, I wasn't the brightest and the smartest, but I worked hard. I did all of the extra credit assignments. I talked to my professor, or not professors at the time, my teachers, like, hey, what exactly can I do to at least get a B? I'm trying to, these are my goals and this is what I want to do. And not just give me a B, but what can I actually do to put myself in a position to succeed?
That is such a key piece. I'm a firm believer. I was not a great student either, but I just did what I had to do to like get through. That was in college and everything too. Like but you'd be amazed. You talk to multiple teachers, they respect the kids who are actually that care.
Mhm.
They don't care if you're like
Facts.
smartest, bright. Like that's why they're there to teach, is to help you learn. So they understand that most kids aren't going to have it just like naturally flowing, but they
Right.
respect the kids who care. And I think that's one of the things I would encourage. Just hearing you say that, like for any student athlete, there's this like persona, like I don't know, stereotype, I should say, is the way to put it. People think that these athletes are just a bunch of dumb jocks, right? They think that they're just these
Mhm.
stereotype. They're just dumb. If you're an athlete, you're a student athlete, my recommendation is make it cool to care about what you're doing, right? Care about what you're
Right.
doing. Go to class. It's okay to ask. It's okay to ask questions to your teachers and so forth. So I love that you were doing
Facts.
that. Yeah. So what was the biggest transition for you though, Will? And talk to us about what position you played. I think that's
Mhm.
important for people to understand. Like, what position were you playing in football?
Yeah, so funny thing, coming to go back to high school. So I've always been an offensive lineman. The only time that I touched the defensive side was my freshman year, and that was like goal line. All right, the bigs, y'all go in and stuff something. So that was the only time I played defense. Um, when I started to get recognized and started to get offers, of course, everybody, offensive line, we gonna move you inside the guard, so on and so forth. Tulsa was the only school to offer me a defensive line position. Now it was random. So what happened was the coach, defensive line coach, when he was there and he came to recruit at my school, he came to look at our quarterback or one of our receivers, but he was at quarterback that day. So he didn't get to, see the routes, him run the route tree, so on and so forth. So he kind of found his way down to our side. And his words, he was like, man, when I seen you warm up, I was like, that joker there is athletic. And if I can get him over here, I could teach him how to play D line. So going throughout the recruiting process, everybody else talking O line, and I'm like, yeah, that's where I'm going. But it was just something about him. I'm like, you know what? Maybe I can do it. He convinced the boy. I say, maybe I can do it. So ultimately, that's what helped me, transition within that process. So went to Tulsa. That staff, my first year, got fired, and then immediately after that, the staff from Baylor, Coach Philip Montgomery, came in, and that spring we had a conversation. And we're like, "Hey, the choice is up to you, but we need some help on this side of the ball. We would like for you to move back to offense. If you don't want to, cool, but just sleep on it." Immediately, I was like, "Okay, let me go ahead, come back home." I say all of that to say, I'm an offensive lineman at heart. Like I knew 100% that's what I was supposed to be, and the transition wasn't too crazy. Because I mean, I had played it all my life from little league all the way through high school, and of course, until college. But yeah, man, I'm a natural born protector.
Oh, I love that, dude.
Yeah.
Interesting though. It's an interesting story there. Just having to you kind of switch back and forth. I guess, how do you get your mind right to be able to do that though? So what did you like? Did you end up
Mhm.
playing offensive line for the
Mhm.
duration of your collegiate career after that?
Yeah, for the rest of my career. And that's why I say it's kind of a funny story and situation how I came in as a D lineman. Never, I'm talking about no experience as a D lineman. It was just, hey, I seen you warm up, I seen your feet, you got good feet, I know you can do it. So yeah, for the remainder of my career, I was a starter. Well, my redshirt freshman year, first game, I started off as a backup. Literally first game, I start and tackle goes down, boom, tears his ACL, done for the season. And from that point on, I remained the starter for the duration of my career at Tulsa.
Wow, man.
Hmm.
It's also a nice little testament of like you're doing the little things right. You were doing the little things
Hmm.
right. You had good footwork. You had all this stuff, and you're just putting in the work for years and years. And all of a sudden, that randomly the coach is coming over to scout out a different person, sees you, sees the potential, and I think that happens a lot more frequently than people think.
Hmm.
I can say it even from a basketball perspective, from coaching. I coached the 17, 18-year-old squads for club, and like There's
Hmm.
been multiple times where guys are like, you got coaches coming to watch certain players either on the other team or on your team, and then all of a sudden they catch their attention that one of the other guys on my team is out there hustling. They're like, hey, he's raw, but we can coach this guy, and they get an offer. And so it does
Yeah.
happen that time. That as long as you're putting in the work and you're doing the thing, you'd be amazed at how many times like random stuff like that can happen. I think that's so cool though. I think something you said earlier too, God being a part of your journey, and that for I think he's
Hmm.
up there playing chess, man. He's putting people in positions. It's a matter of if you'll be prepared to like take advantage of those. Um,
That's a fact.
I love it, dude.
That's a fact. Shout out to God, man. Not to
Heck
cut you
yeah.
off, my bad.
I love it though. No, that's awesome. So Willie, as you were going through, what was one of your favorite, I guess, experiences during your
Mhm.
4 years of, I guess, your 4 years of playing, your 4 years of playing at Tulsa? Like, what do you have a favorite game, a favorite memory during that time that you were there? I'm sure there's quite a few.
Yeah, it's a lot. And the cool thing about it is every time you go back for homecoming and stuff like that, or events like that, you get to get around your teammates and you kind of just reflect and talk about those times. But as far as a game, oh, my red shirt sophomore year. This is the first year I was like actually like coming out of training camp. I'm the full-time starter. So my red shirt sophomore year, we played Ohio State, excuse me, at the shoe. And that was a dope experience because it's like, wow, like my mentality is, hey, they on scholarship just like we on scholarship. Don't get caught up in the name of the school and this, that, and the third. So playing at Ohio State, it was like, wow, this is pretty dope. Like we really out here. You know what I mean? And I had a pretty decent game, not the best, but a pretty decent game against those guys. Um, Another memory, or I'd say something that I miss more so, was like the locker room in college. When I did transition to go to the league for that short stint, you figure out that it's completely different. And what I mean by that is, you know, after practice or after a game in college, you got a couple, maybe whether that's your roommate, couple teammates, it's like, hey, what y'all trying to eat? Let's go get something to eat right quick. Next level, you might be next to a 35-year-old who got 7 kids. Let me not say seven. I don't want
But
to put
yeah, you're not
nobody out
too
like
far
that.
off on that. You ain't too
You
far
know
off
what I'm
on
saying?
some of them.
Exactly. So you might sit there like, hey, y'all trying to go get dinner? You like, man, my wife cooked. I'm going home. I'll see you tomorrow. You know what I mean? So it's
So
like,
true.
dang, like it's a little different, which I mean you grow to kind of appreciate those moments and those times that you had with your brothers, with your teammates in college. But yeah, those are probably two of the things that I would say. Some memories, just a few.
Dude, shout out Ohio State. As you can see behind me, I'm a Buckeyes fan. I know it's weird.
Yeah.
I'm a Boise State alum, but I'm a huge
Yeah.
Buckeyes fan, massive Buckeyes fan. Been
I
since
ain't mad at you.
since the beginning of time. So no, that's cool. You got an opportunity to play in the shoe. I've been there a couple of times. I love that place. But there's like that's one of the things for me. I always like look at as a fan, just like stadiums. Stadiums are like so
Mhm.
cool to me with like history. I guess that's one. Is there? I even think Tulsa. I actually like your guys' like school and the history behind Tulsa and their football program.
Mhm.
Is that your favorite stadium you played at, Willie, during that time, during those 4 years, or did you have another stadium, like any other opportunities that you like thought they were pretty cool? Or maybe you're not like me, and I'm a geek when it comes to stadiums. I just think like atmosphere is super dope. So I don't know, that's something that I geek out on.
Yeah, no, I feel you. The other one I would probably say Texas. My senior year we played at UT, which is a close game. I think we lost 28-21. It's still a L, but that was one of those ones. I was like, wow, this is, especially growing up in Texas as you're, becoming elementary, middle school, that's all you see, orange, and of course the local school, U of H. So it's like, dang, Texas. So playing there, I was like, this is crazy. And also University of Oklahoma.
Oh
Played there
yeah.
my red shirt freshman year, and that was a pretty dope experience. That's before they kind of connected. It's the end zone that they have that goes straight up, but
Uh-huh.
that's before they connected the two corners of the end zone. But that was a pretty dope experience as well. Just playing in those arenas, if you will.
Yeah. No, that's so cool to me. Yeah, that'd be an awesome opportunity for sure. And then something you touch base on, I think is awesome too, is just the camaraderie. I think if one thing I could recommend for any listeners out there is take advantage of that, like take advantage of the experience while you're in it. You mentioned just like your locker room experience in college. I remember
Mhm,
Winston Venable, who played at Boise State, won a Fiesta Bowl against TCU with them. Played in the
mhm,
NFL for a short stint, then went up to Canada and played there. And he talked to me about how the CFL was more, it was just so much more close to that college experience in the sense of the locker room. Like the guys will go out to eat together. They kind of they just have more of a family vibe because it's not all about money. It's not all about this. Like everybody's kind of tight knit. They drive the bus. No one's making like buku bucks, you know. And so it's kind of like,
Right.
you know, they're making decent living, but they're just kind of hanging out together. And it's interesting you say that because I just remember him saying that. Like I think take advantage of it. If you're a collegiate athlete, even if that's at the junior college level, understand that those moments won't be there forever. So take advantage of the locker room, man. Those friendships and the moments, even when you're pissed off, you know, like just realize like that's just how it is. And you got a tight knit group of brothers. And if you're a female, you got the sisterhood too inside the locker room. It's awesome. Super dope.
People sleep.
Yeah, go ahead.
Not to cut you out, I'm so sorry, but and people really sleep on those experiences. I understand, like, you know, the times that we're moving into right now with the whole NIL space. Like, you might be here for 6 months, then go on to the next place. But people really sleep on that opportunity to connect. It's not going to be another time where you have a 4-year span where you can get to know the same people for that extended period of time and just get to meet new people where it's not weird. Or it doesn't feel weird. You know what I mean? Whether that's teammates or other people on campus. People really sleep on that. And that's one thing that I'm grateful for, that I got to experience that time, you know, in college.
That's such a good point, man. I love it. Something that's coming to my attention as well, just like the transition to the NFL. I know you were undrafted, but you're going with the Browns and then you're making your way. So this is the reality for a lot of people. I think there's this misunderstanding. I truly do. After interviewing people for 9 years, they're like, everyone's the top dog. They're all going to go there. Like I had Ed George on the podcast, Brad Johnson on the podcast, I had all these guys on the podcast that were like, you know, top dogs. Not everyone's top dog. Okay. They're top dog. Like they're in the sense of like probably better than 99% of athletes across the world, but it's hard. I mean, that's the reality. Is like you got the undrafted, you're trying to make your way into it. You're trying to fight for a spot, and there's only limited amounts of spots. And football, man, it's like so weird to me, Willie, because like other sports, there are other professional options. There's so many more professional options to go get paid. But in football, it's really hard. The NFL, it's essentially it. Now they've got, you know, the different options, but they're not the same. It's you have a very short span of playing in football. That's just the reality. It's a very short span. You got dudes in their 40s and 50s that can still hoop sometimes if they go overseas and play in like a third tier league. But anyway, my whole point is I want to ask you about this. So you get to the Browns. What's it like going through camp and everything? Not sure if you're going to have a spot or not. And like every week, you're probably going week to week, just trying to figure out if you're going to be able to, you know, maintain a spot on the roster.
Right. So when I got to Cleveland, it was interesting from a standpoint of I really got to sit back and understand how the business of football, not even just football, the business of the NFL really works. My very first day, we had report day for rookie minicamp. So you come in and they bring everybody in together, undrafted guys, drafted, whether you're second round, the fifth, or whoever came in. So we all come in for rookie minicamp, and I remember going to the locker room. Of course, you're wild. This is when the year that we got OBJ, Jarvis Landry was already there. So you walking around like, dang, like, it's pretty dope. Like, I'm in here. And then as you walk up to your locker, it's like, wow, that's my name. That's my number. Okay, cool. And then boom, you look to the left and you see them scraping off a name tag and putting up another linebacker that we just drafted.
Oh, wow.
So that's when it hits. It's like, oh, wow. That's crazy. I just seen Buddy walk out of here, a couple of hours ago. I didn't know why he was walking out of here with all of his stuff. I mean, I kind of put 2 and 2 together, but seeing how all of that works out, like I'm talking about first day, as soon as you walk in, it's like, wow, this is crazy. It's really business. All right, now it's time to lock in and handle business. But going through the training camps, preseason and all of that, my mentality was, God, you didn't bring me this far just to kind of drop me off and say, hey, cool experience. All right, you get to go home and tell all your friends about it. So just going, week to week, and I had some favor, but week to week as an undrafted guy, it is that constant thought of, dang, okay, it's today my last day. Oh, especially when you start seeing people close to you, you're in a meeting room, you sit down, and it's like, we start in 2 minutes. Where's such and such? Coach come in. All right, guys. No, like nothing happened. All right, guys. So today, this is what we're gonna do. Like, dang, he late. Next thing you know, you get a notification. So-and-so has been released or waived. You like, ooh, he was just sitting next to me. Is it going to happen to me? So those thoughts, of course, run through your mind. And as an undrafted guy, you don't have the same amount of chances to mess up as a drafted guy. If you're a first through third round pick, they'll give you all the chances in the world because they've invested a certain amount of money into you. But if you're undrafted, you could be here today, going tomorrow. Quick. Let you mess up one too many times. Let them tell you 6 times how to do something, you don't get it. Oh, okay, goodbye. We'll get somebody that has your same build, same athleticism, that's going to come in and do it right. So that is always in the back of your mind throughout camp and preseason. But just going through it, I believe that you have to be secure in who you are and understand that you're there for a reason. And the quicker you understand that, I think the better off you'll be.
That's so interesting though, man. Like that's not easy for people, man. Even in my own personal life, going to work every day when
Yeah.
you're like not sure, like maybe your CEO that you like.
Mhm.
I mean, I'll be real. Like I'm in senior leadership positions in my profession, and it's like
Mhm.
you're not even sure. You're like, what CEO's on a bad mood yesterday, so is he going to fire me today? Like I got
Yeah.
to come in and lead this team. I got to still do my thing, but that constant anxiety can
Mhm.
weigh on people, but you're still expected to perform. I mean, you got to go out and perform physically, mentally, everything. Um,
Facts.
that's tough, man. That's tough. Like, so it's kind of cool though that you have that experience because you can pass that on to other people and like
Mhm.
be able to come in and just. And I love what you said about just remembering who you are. Like this is like who you are at your core, and you come in, you believe in yourself, and you do your thing. And but it does weigh on you because people's livelihoods are at stake. You know, like if they get released, that's their livelihood. You know, and so they have to switch it up. So
Facts. I'll tell you, and I hope I'm not jumping the gun on this or getting ahead of myself. I'll tell you one thing, man. The first time that I got cut when I was in Cleveland, like the very first time, the first round of cuts, when I did get cut, so on game or not on game day, after the last preseason game, everybody around their phone just sitting there like, okay, am I gonna get that call? If you don't get a call, you pretty much made the team. But if you do get that call from a random number that you don't have saved, it's like, oh shoot, dang, it's like your heart drops to your toes. So that very first time I got that call, I'm like, okay, dang, everything starts to run through your head like, oh, okay, what am I gonna do? Do I figure out something else? Do I just go back home to train? Do I stay here? Like what exact it's all of those thoughts just run through your head, boom, 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 boom. Luckily for me, as soon as I got the call in Cleveland, they were like, hey, we're gonna release you today, but don't go anywhere. If you don't get claimed, we want to bring you back on the practice squad. So that kind of gave me a sense of relief. But my first like time getting cut, like, all right, sayonara, see you later, have a good life. My second stint, this was 2020 when we got a new coaching staff, and they gave me a call, like, or no. I came into the facility, they called me up, like, hey, we're gonna release you. You did some great things, but we're gonna move in another direction. Okay, thank you for the opportunity, so on and so forth. Moved along. I got to the hotel. That's when it hit me like, oh shoot, what's next? Do you continue trying to pursue it, or do you go home and like what's next? And you just all of that reality just hits you, and it's just like, oh, okay, let me just sit back and kind of reflect. And you just sitting there for hours just thinking like, dang. Now they calling you like, hey, we got a flight for you. Are you ready to go now? Or it's like, it's crazy. It's wild.
man,
It definitely kind of tugs on you, man.
that like stresses me out on your behalf because yeah,
Facts.
those are the things you have to figure out. But like to my
Hmm.
understanding, right, Will, you I saw that you had a couple of different stints with different teams, right? Like a couple
Hmm.
different squads. So ultimately you were able to kind of make your way around. At what point did you know though that it was like time to not continue to pursue it? Like when did you have that reality of like, okay, now I'm going to utilize those skills, those resources that I did in college that you mentioned earlier, like all these things I've been preparing for. At what time did you say, okay, like it's time to transition to the next stage of life? This was a good spot, but now it's time to move
Hmm.
on.
Right. So coming into the league, I always had that mentality and mindset of, okay, I always continue to think what's next, just because I know it's not going to last long. But specifically in 2023, 22, my last stop was with the Las Vegas Raiders. I spent 2 weeks on a practice squad with them. And then the following year, I got drafted in the XFL. So January of 23, go to the XFL, training, become a starter. I'm finally like, okay, this is my time to really, cut my teeth. So I go in the very first game. I think it was like the 12th offensive play of that game. We're playing St. Louis Battlehawks. Go in and I go down with the injury. I break my fibula, full break my fibula. I tear my syndesmosis, my deltoid ligaments, and I had severe cartilage damage. So after that, I'm laying on it, and I got pictures and everything. I'm laying on the ground, sitting there like, ain't no way, God, like you brought me here. It got to just be a high ankle sprain. long story short, I end up going in, talk to the docs. They like, hey, so yeah, you broke your ankle, but they didn't tell me the severity of it. The worst part about that is the bus ride, because we took buses at the time. So I'm feeling every bump, 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 bump. I'm like, oh my gosh, Jesus. So I get there. I end up having surgery over the next few days. Probably maybe 6 months in the rehab. I go to the doc, and my ankle, the flexion that I have, it's not normal within the time of recovery. So I'm still, kind of struggling with it at the time. So talk to the doc. He's like, hey, I can't tell you what to do, but by the looks of it, it's time to go ahead and hang him up. So it wasn't necessarily, hey, I'm gonna walk away from the game. It was literally, I was like told and advised and kind of forced to, make that transition and pivot. But by the grace of God, and I always pointed to God, I always had that forward thinking mindset and mentality of what's next, and how are you gonna make that transition into your next phase of life. So it wasn't that tough for me. I did have a period of, not questioning God, but asking like, okay, what exactly is it that you want me to get out of this situation? But yeah, it wasn't a situation where I just kind of, I'm gonna leave the game. It was like, hey, your time's up. Let's figure it out now. So yeah, that's kind of how it panned out for me.
Man, like, and it sucks hearing that, but I would imagine there's a lot of people, Willie, that kind of go through that same thing where it's like almost forced on them rather than they get to choose their way out. So sometimes they get to ride off into the sunset and do their thing, but a lot of times people's hands are forced, especially athletes, man. It's just kind of like that's the reality of the situation. Goodness, man, that's brutal. So I'm sure that there were some frustrations, like you were saying, you're just like questioning why, but like at the same time, you had prepared yourself for that. I wanted to ask a question while you were going through your whole professional football career. Were there times where, you were a starter, 4-year starter in college, you played at a very high level, you got to the league, but were there times where you questioned your abilities, where you were like, did that ever happen where you're like, do I know how to play this position? Like, did that ever come across? Because I've heard people talk about it, and I've felt it in my own professional career for other things where you're like, maybe because of the environment, you might be like, do I really know what I'm doing? Like, has all this experience just like, did you ever experience self-doubt like that at all?
I think all athletes experience some sort or sense of self-doubt at each and every level. Me specifically, my very first day going back to rookie minicamp, you get in front of the coaches, you get in the position meeting rooms, and they get on the board. They're teaching you the plays. In minicamp, they're not going to unload everything. They'll give you it's only 3 days. So they give you probably maybe 5 to 10 plays to learn throughout those couple days, and you hit the practice field. So when I got to Cleveland, they moved me to center. So if anybody knows football, center, that's like the second quarterback of the offense. You calling the shots. Hey, run. Lou. Check. Hey, Mike 52, Mike 50. You making all of those calls. I came from playing tackle. I communicated, but it was minimal. It wasn't all of that. It can't be too many chefs in the kitchen. Right. I'm not making gumbo. So when I got to Cleveland, like I said, we had that first meeting, and as you're going through it on the board, it's like they like, okay, you guys got that. It's like, okay, cool, and it's very fast paced. Cool, taking my little notes. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, cool. Install is that morning. You go to practice in an hour. So whatever you just learned, you got to be able to apply that on the field. So we go out there. I'm out there. Wide 80. Why they say hut? I'm snapping up. I'm like, oh shoot, I done messed up. Nobody else moved. I'm like, dang. And I go from college to where it's ready to go. Or
yeah.
I go to wide 80. Where they say hut. Whoa, what? And I'm the one that got to pull up. I can't fake it and sit there and look at the ball and all right, now go. I'm the one that's snapping it. So messed up a couple times, of course, on that. Certain IDs, I'm IDing the wrong person. I'm going to this backer, and we're not in pass, so it's not like my running back getting blown up. But he get through the hole. If we were in pass, it's KOD. It's over with. So that moment, I was like, okay, I know I'm here for a reason. I know I'm supposed to be here, but Lord, what is it? Like, am I really as good as I thought I was? Am I that guy? Like, what's really going on? Because I can't get right now. And of course, with time, just learning the system and the processes, you get better with that. But immediately when I got in, that was when it was like, whoa, like, okay, this is real deal. And the playbook is that thick. And you got to know everything. You know what I'm saying? So that was kind of my I guess moment of self-doubt, if you will. But just kind of hearing that reassurance from coaches, like, hey, you can play in this league as long as you get this, that, and the third done. Like, you have what it takes. You just gotta tighten up in these areas. So you hear that, and it's like, okay, maybe I can. And then you hear it from your peers and your teammates, like, hey man, hey, you got something. I'm like, okay, I do. Talk to you, boy. You know, so that kind of helps along with that process. I know that was kind of long-winded, but yeah, to your point or your question, yeah, you'll experience it at every level. But when I got to the league, that was the very first moment where I was like, ooh, do I belong here? Because it seemed like everybody else getting it, and I'm just, I'm stuck like Chuck. So
Man, though, that I appreciate you sharing that, because that's the honest truth of the situation. And then, like, the fact that you were able to get through it, I think speaks volumes to your, like, leaders, your coaches, your teammates as well, like encouraging people and reminding them who they really are. Like, no, you're here for a reason, because you'll have self-doubt. And I think that's important for you to, share those honest moments. That's the reality of it. So, in your current state now, Willie, is helping with student development on the stuff outside. We talked about it earlier. You're talking about like NIL and all this stuff that these players and these student athletes are kind of running into now. For most of them, they'll get out of college and they'll never go pro. For most athletes that go out there, and some of them get introduced to the branding and the money side of things early on now, because they can leverage that. But what are you noticing in your specific situation now? What is the hardest transition for some of these athletes as they get out of sport? Like, what are we struggling with, and what are you specifically helping them with on that transition out?
I think specifically in the NIL era now, and I'm an advocate for athletes to get paid. Hey, go get your bread. Because I remember when we was in school, it was like, hey, when you got nothing to eat, let's bust down a pizza one time. But I think specifically right now in this NIL era with the whole landscape, the things that athletes struggle with as they transition out, whether they go to the league or not, is maybe you were getting, and this is just, these aren't accurate numbers for any specific person, but maybe you were getting, 50,000 a year. Now, 50,000, some people are like, oh, that's not really, well, you got to think about it. Everything is covered, scholarship, books, all of that. So literally that's kind of like you getting not a free 50,000, but you're getting money. Or let's up the stakes. Let's say you're getting 200,000 and you're this top athlete. Okay, cool. Let's say you don't go to the NFL, you don't go to the NBA, you don't go to the league. Now you go from making this amount of money in college to now you got to start back from square one, and you have to have a quote unquote regular job or like a realistic job. So you go into marketing, you go into sales, and you go from making 200,000 or 250 over, your time in college to now you're getting paid 60,000. That's where the transition piece a lot of guys struggle with, because it's like, I've been getting so much at this point, that's what I'm expecting. If I don't go to the league in whatever sport, this is still the salary that I'm expecting to get paid. But it's like, no, it doesn't work like that. You got to think about it. When you were playing football, you did it elementary school, middle school, high school. So you've been training to get to a certain level to be able to benefit off the fruits of your labor. You got to start over and do the same thing in another field. You don't have the same experience in marketing. You don't have the same experience in medical sales or whatever field that you decide to go into. So you got to go back to elementary school and you got to learn those and kind of come up through the ranks. Now, if you've done it the right way and you've trained up yourself while you took advantage of the opportunities while you were a student athlete and said, hey, okay, in the summertime or in the off season, I'm going to go do some career tours. I'm going to make sure that I'm interning at these companies. I'm gonna be an extern shadow, and you've built up the rapport and the experience that way. You might be able to make a smooth transition out. Maybe not make 250,000, but you might get closer to 80, 90, whatever range that you desire. But I think that's probably the biggest thing or the biggest misconception. When I graduate, I'm gonna make the same amount of money if I don't go pro. It don't always work like that. That's where you got to kind of come back down to earth and understand. All right, cool. I saved up enough money. This will get me 1 to 2 years post grad to where I'll figure things out.
Oh, that's such an important piece, man. Like, I think, and that's the reality we're going to run into more and more and more coming up. I think John Calipari, I'm pretty sure, kind of mentioned something along those same lines, but he was also talking about how now with the transfer portal being wide open, a lot of these kids aren't even graduating from a specific university, nor do they have like they're going one semester to the next semester, so they never actually finish up their schooling. And if they do, they don't really have an allegiance to their final school they graduate from, because they've gone to 3 or 4 different universities. So it's not like they have that alumni, connection. And so they're getting set up for a situation where it's like really hard. So I guess my question to you would be, okay, they got to start from scratch. You mentioned resources. I am a huge proponent of resources. If you're an athlete, if you're a student athlete, you're at a school, even to this day, I wasn't an athlete in college, but some of my professors at Boise State, I actually value that much more than my education. I'll be fully transparent. It doesn't matter where the darn in my professional career. And that's just me. But my connections that I made while I was there, I still love some of my professors. Some of them I don't care to talk to ever again, but some of them I still like really love them. And they've helped me out in a lot of connections in the business space. They've helped me out in connections in the media space. So those connections and those relationships were really important to me. Like, talk to me about like how you're helping athletes with their resources. Like, you were resourceful when you went to Tulsa. You were resourceful. You went to conferences. You went to these things that were available. What are the types of things you're helping these athletes see and take advantage of?
Yeah, great question. Specifically, like right now, we're working on. We have where we jump started back in the fall. And we're kind of working through it right now, financial wellness. And the name of our program is the Blue Chips Financial Wellness Series. And basically, so my rookie year, I had a lady by the name of Hillary Seiler. She owns a company called Financial Footwork. And she'll come in and do specific talks tailored to that team. And that's something that I've had a helping hand in curating, bringing her in. She's local. She lives in Boise, which was great. So I had a helping hand in as far as getting her in to deliver or disseminate this financial literacy to our athletes. And I've gotten great feedback about it. And I always tell them, I always preface before she comes up when I introduce her, guys and girls, whenever you hear her speak or, talk about taxes, money management, whatever that is, think of it on a grand scale. A lot of y'all might not use this information at this very moment, but put it in your storehouse because you'll need it 20 years later. Shoot, forget 20. You'll need it 10 years later, 5, when you graduate, whenever you start, earning a significant amount of, not even significant because everybody got to pay taxes. But once you become, or once you get to a level where you're earning a certain amount of money, you'll have to know these things. So that's one thing that we put in place. Coming up actually in 2 weeks, not next Monday, but the following Monday, we have our Connect. So I just got here in August, so this will be my first one kind of partaking in. But we have a big networking night where we set up a lot of different business professionals so our athletes can be exposed to, just career exploration. So that's networking, but also, okay, hey, I don't know what I want to do. This is my major. Okay, cool. We're going to bring those individuals in so you can go out and explore and talk to them. Because a lot of times you might come in thinking, hey, I want to be an entrepreneur. And you talk to an actual entrepreneur, somebody that owns a restaurant, a store, whatever that may be, and they tell you everything that you're going to have to go through. And you like, I think I'm going to just go coach. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's important to expose them. I heard a running back, Fred Taylor, said on his podcast a couple years ago, he said, exposure leads to expansion. So if you're not exposed to certain things, you won't be able to expand your mind. You won't know exactly what you're really interested in if you're not exposed to it. So just putting our athletes in front of different people, different things, and exposing them to different avenues and opportunities, really gives them the best chance to succeed.
That is so awesome, dude. That is so cool that you're helping put that stuff together and being a part of that. I'm a huge proponent of that. And like, it's the fact that, like getting them, some people think they want to be entrepreneurs. I'll be honest, dude. They're like, I would love to do my show full time, and eventually that will happen. I've been doing it for almost a decade, but the reality is, there's a big, sacrifice that's required for that. A lot of times you start the first 2 or 3 years of entrepreneurship and you're just eating money. You better be taking out a loan, the small business loan or something, like if you got to get through it. So it's like, the reality is it's hard. It's a grind. And so just making sure that they're aware of those things, right? Just helping them see it. I love that. That is so cool that you're doing that, brother. So, if you look back at like your career all through the playing days and then currently what you're doing now, and you see into just the sports world, this is what I love about it, is like you're in the sports world. You see how much it can, like, that's like your passion. I can tell. What is the biggest life lesson that football and just sports in general, whether it be from the playing days, whether it be from here in the student development days, what is the biggest life lesson that you've taken away from it?
That's a good one. The biggest life, football has given me so many lessons, but one of the biggest life lessons that I can probably speak on is just to keep going. And it sounds, cliche and simple, but if you're playing a game and it's 4th and 2 or 4th and short and you don't get it, it's still game to play. Keep going. If you sit out there and you graduate and it's like, man, I know I'm qualified for this job, but I didn't get it. Keep going. Man, I know I was supposed to go to the league. I got a call, I got an opportunity. I worked out. They told me I was phenomenal, but they didn't give me the opportunity or they didn't sign me. Keep going. Keep going. And football has taught me that in a multitude of different ways, whether that was from a tough workout where it's like, I can't do it. I can't do it no more. But I ended up finishing it. Keep going. At the end of the day, if you keep going, you'll eventually meet or run into whatever purpose or whatever it is that you were meant to meet. So that's the biggest takeaway. Like I said, I can go on and on. Football has given me so many life lessons and things that I've learned. But keep going. That's the biggest thing for me. Keep going. No matter what, keep going.
I freaking love it, dude. That is so good. And this has been such a fun opportunity. I did have a question that I didn't ask yet, but so a lot of offensive linemen that retire, they end up like losing a ton of weight. I saw you were listed at 6'2", almost 300 during your professional days. There's no way you're 300 pounds right now, unless you're just like a leaner 300 pounds. So like, did you cut some weight or are you just like leaned out crazy, just like super dense muscle or whatever? Like what are you running around at now? Like, are you same as your playing days because you don't look that way to me?
Absolutely not. So I definitely cut. And it wasn't like a full intentional, like I'm active. I still work out on a daily basis, but it wasn't intentional. Like, man, as soon as I'm done, I'm gonna cut this, I'm gonna do all of this. It was just more so like while you're playing, you have to maintain a certain weight.
Yeah.
Like you have to eat and eat and eat while you're playing, offensive line, O-line, D-line. So when I finished playing, I just started eating a little different. Like right now I eat twice a day. I don't eat until 12 o'clock. Of course I'll snack a little bit. I'm an O-lineman, so I like to eat still, but I just don't eat as often. I'm about 270 right now. My highest playing weight is probably like 305, 308, kind of in that range. But I kind of bounce between 265 and 270. That's been my sweet spot these past few months. But yeah, I shed about 30 pounds. I don't want to get down to like 220 or anything like that. I don't think the last time I was 220 was probably 5th grade.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't know what I would look like being that small. But I don't know. Who knows? Maybe I might hit a kick and I'm like, let me go do some CrossFit. Well, nah, I ain't doing that. That ain't for me. Let me stop. Now I'm talking crazy. I ain't gonna do that. But yeah, I did shed about 30 pounds. Not intentional. It just kind of happened. Just continuing to stay active, working out, and watching some of the stuff that I eat.
That's so cool to me, though, dude. Like that's awesome, brother. You just living a healthy lifestyle, doing your thing, and staying active. I think that's super cool. So, Willie, I want to just say thank you. Thank you for taking the time today to chat with me, and I hope that we can stay connected in the future too. Just kind of like, I'm going to be following your journey. I'm just stoked. I think you provided a ton of insights and wisdom, and that's the whole point of this. So I really appreciate your time that you took this morning to share this with us.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I appreciate you, man. Definitely appreciate you. This was fun. I always like doing things like this, just kind of getting on a podcast or on the phone or whatever that looks like, and just kind of rapping it and chopping it up. But yeah, no, I appreciate the opportunity though, man.
Absolutely, brother. Absolutely. Hope everybody else enjoyed it as well. If you're tuned into this one, make sure to hit that subscribe button on whichever platform that you're listening on. Leave us a review. Let us know what you thought about the interview with Willie, and we'll be coming to you guys next week with another interview. Take care. Guys, thanks so much for listening to another episode of my show. Now, if you could go and do me a favor, head over to iTunes, give me 5 stars, and leave me a review, it would be greatly appreciated. Thanks, guys. Appreciate your support.